Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mortgage Coach coaching call. Every Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock Pacific, we're here to connect as a community, to share ideas, to interview the best of the best loan officers, and to get focused on the week ahead. Again, our goal here is to deliver nothing short of the industry's best weekly sales meeting. My name is Dave Savage. I'm the CEO of Mortgage Coach. I urge everybody, if we haven't already connected in LinkedIn and Facebook, if you haven't connected with us as a company, I urge you to go to Mortgage Coach, like us. That way you'll know ahead of the time what coaching calls we have coming. Again, we do email you about that, but in case it gets lost or you miss it, it's on the Facebook page. Plus, we're always having conversations with our community and loan officers and sharing valuable insight. As our super guest, special guest of the day, we have Mr. Jeremy Forcier joining us for, I don't know, the 100th time. Jeremy, welcome to the call.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, every time you are on a coaching call, you have yet to miss it. You have always been one of the absolute best. I know you're going to share a lot of wisdom, insight, and a lot of value, so I can't wait to officially bring you into the call.
Thank you. Let's have some fun.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm going to kind of frame the conversation, and Jeremy, if you want to add anything, just jump in. Until I officially introduce you and start interviewing you, just consider yourself my co-host.
You got it.
All right. So as we bring Jeremy in and we really focus the rest of this call, I really want to align it to this concept and this belief that I have that regardless of what happens with interest rates this year, whether they go up, doesn't really matter what happens in the economy. There's absolutely no reason everybody on this call can't achieve a personal best and can't have another record-breaking year. I mean, I believe that in my heart. Rates could go up a point, and you could still have a better year than last year. But I also believe in my heart that one of the key components to that is you need to be prepared by Q3 to lose 75% of your refi business. So everybody on this call, I want you to think about how many loans you have in the pipe right now. I want you to think about how many of them are refis, and I want you to change that number and make it 25% of what it is today, because that's your pipe. And if you like that number, then you're doing the right things, keep doing and doing more. And if you don't like that number, you need to stop doing some things and you need to start doing some other things. And we're going to share some really killer ideas today. Jeremy's going to, he's going to lay out a breakthrough strategy and idea. But again, get focused on this. And again, I hope rates do not go up like that. I hope we have till next year, but we've got to prepare for that. So here's the Mortgage Coach formula, and I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time educating around this in this call because I created a video over the weekend that I'm going to tell you all to go and watch, and we're going to continue here at Mortgage Coach to educate you and teach you how to use our solutions in a way that helps you just make a breakthrough, helps you execute on that vision. So the Mortgage Coach experiences that everybody on this call needs to be a master of. Again, if you're not already, it's not too late. But you need to know how to have that buyer total cost analysis conversation. You need to know how to have the Mortgage Coach rent versus own analysis so that you're creating urgency with first-time home buyers. And realtors will love you if you do that. You need to do the home buyer option analysis. By the way, folks, if anybody's ever watched Jeremy Forcier's videos that he provides for every client, that's what he's doing. He's providing options. They're not always, a 30-year versus a 15-year. Sometimes it's a property that, hey, your target's 200. Well, let me show you a 180 and a 220. So showing home buyers options, doing a move-up buyer analysis. So we're going to have a power user, a top sales manager in our industry who's also a producer, share how he's creating urgency with move-up buyers. Jeremy has created an amazing why buy now analysis. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. And again, home seller option analysis, another name for open house flyers. So again, I'm not going to spend 15, 20 minutes on this because, like I said, I created a video. We're going to continue to enhance our messaging. We're going to continue to enhance how we educate. But if you go to our Facebook page today, there's a link to this video. It's 15 minutes long. I think it's powerful. I think it's focused. And I think everybody on this call should watch it if you want to execute on the vision that I laid out. I also want to remind everybody, if you're on this call, you're Mortgage Coach members. If you don't have Rate Watch, get Rate Watch. Bill Hart did an amazing 1-minute kind of realtor strategy video. Jeremy, did you happen to see Bill's video yesterday that came out?
I have not seen Bill's video yet.
Okay, so everybody, it's 1 minute. Make sure you watch it. And again, if you don't have Rate Watch, if you don't have access to that, get access. Just go to our Facebook page. There's a link from yesterday. Check it out. So let's get focused. Let's do an interview with Jeremy Forcier. We're going to talk about Jeremy, and we're going to unpack Jeremy's mastermind that he did at his corporate headquarters a few weeks ago. So Jeremy, real quick, for anybody that doesn't know you, if you could just quickly tell everybody what market you're in, a little bit about your production levels currently, and just help us get a better feel for your mortgage practice.
Sure. So my name is Jeremy Forcier. I am a loan officer with Guaranteed Rate Mortgage. I have been in the business for 9 years, and I work, I live in Sonoma County, California, but I work the greater Bay Area. So, a lot of times people say, I talk to loan officers, Dave, and talking to one last week, he's like, hey, I don't know how to do any more business. I live in a rural town that only has, 50,000 people in it. And I was like, well, me too, man. So I work about an hour north, south, east of where I live, and so I work in about 4 different markets that I drive to. Current production levels, we're having a great year. We're pacing about $123 million right now for the year. So things are really good. And the biggest thing I'm proud of is that our purchase volume is way up. So Dave, I watched that video yesterday. Everyone on the call, you have to watch that video he made. It's amazing. It really just is succinct. It hits the nail right on the head, as to what we need to be doing right now to prepare for a purchase market. And we should always be prepared for a purchase market, by the way, because purchase markets don't go away. Some people are always buying and selling homes. So it's a little bit about me, and I'm looking forward to being on the call.
Right on. So, Jeremy, real quick, first of all, what did you do last year in terms of production, and what's your typical monthly in terms of units?
Sure. So last year in production, I did I think it was 87 million or 84 million, which was great. I had a huge fourth quarter that had a lot to do with that big push when I made a move to guaranteed rate. Really, my volume just exploded. Right now, my worst month this year so far has been 22 units, and my best month has been 41 units, closing between 7.8 million was my worst month, and 13 million was my best month.
And how many people on your team to help support that kind of volume?
So I have 2 sales assistants right now. I am hiring a third as we speak, and then corporate processing.
Okay. So, folks, I also have scheduled with Jeremy to do an interview with him and his team, so you get a better feel for his systems, how he makes handoffs, how he does that kind of volume and delivers value. It's a lot of volume. So, guys, think about that. If he closed 20 loans, that means he had to give a presentation and deliver value to, no matter what his conversion rate was, more than 50 people. And probably more typically, it's 70 and 80 leads and presentations a month. And he's also doing that while he's building relationships and maintaining relationships with realtors. So there's a lot of wowing going on. So in the spirit of wow selling, if you have been watching the past few coaching calls, you guys know what I'm talking about. For those of you that aren't, I am going to remind you or introduce the concept to you. Again, my philosophy is that the best salespeople, they really have a simple bullseye and target, and that is to surpass the expectations of their clients. So the whole wow selling philosophy is it's the art and science of how the best salespeople win by surpassing expectations. And when you really think about it, it's just selling made simple. There's so many different philosophies and books, and I could go on, and I'm not going to knock any of them because I've read them all, and all of that reading and all of that knowledge is, over 20 some odd years of selling or leading sales organizations. They're all part of wow selling, but I'm just a big believer this is the bullseye. So before we get into your mastermind, Jeremy, let's just quickly go through a few questions. How important is wowing to your success? So when you think of all the business that you do, the conversion rates, how much referrals or how much partners love you, how much of that success is because you're wowing people?
Yeah, so I would actually attribute, 80% of my production, current relationships, my prospecting relationships, my client relationships to wowing. It is the most important part because you can't just be a loan officer these days that, I offer a guaranteed close on time. My fees are going to be exactly what I tell your client. There is nothing special about that, and what's so interesting is that when I meet with realtors, met with a great new agent yesterday, for example, and I always ask that question is, what are the top 3 most important things to you when working with a lender? And she named all the usual suspects: close on time, great communication, and all of that is great, and we need to pay attention to it. But I told her just what I'm going to tell you is that I love that. I provide all of that, absolutely, but I believe that's just par for the course as being a loan officer and partnering with people. So you absolutely need to have specific critical processes, systems, and milestones where you have an opportunity to wow someone with a video, with an update call, with making a small promise about doing some co-branded marketing and getting them information on it, and then actually delivering on the follow-up. Those little things will make the biggest difference. Great example, Dave. Had a client, or lead, I should say, that I've been bugging for the last 3 months. Busy guy, met him at a party. He emailed me yesterday, finally was like, hey, here's, I refied 4 months ago with XYZ Bank. Here's what I got. What can you do for me? I sent him a spreadsheet and a video late last night, and his response was simply this: wow. I have never seen anything like. I mean, literally, that's what he's. I'm not just saying that. His comment was, "Wow, never seen anything like this. It's so clear. I've made my decision. Let's move forward." So, wowing, how important is it? It's the difference between making $2,000 on one loan and making $20,000 on 8 to 10 loans. That's the difference.
Wow. So, wow. By the way, you got to forward that one to me. I've got to add that as I teach, educate, and evangelize. So I think you kind of already answered this, but if something else does come to mind, because I think you unpacked it, you made it really clear how important it is. You shared some ways in which you did it. But is there anything else quickly that comes to mind in terms of how you wow?
Yeah, I would say that staying in touch, as funny as that sounds, and I'm talking specifically about purchase market, is that we can wow people up front by making a total cost analysis in a video every single time. That's great. Okay, but we have to stay in communication. So one way that we're wowing right now is that every single Wednesday we call every single pre-approved person that is not in contract. We have them in a spreadsheet, and the call is simply, hey, Dave, it's Beatrice from Jeremy Forcier's office. Just calling. It's Wednesday, calling regarding your pre-approval. We want to know if you had any properties that you're interested in, or if you need any new loan numbers, just know that we're here to help. So simply by doing that, because the one thing we have working against us right now, Dave, is that because we're in such a, or at least I am, a driven purchase market right now, the time between someone gets pre-approved and goes into contract is getting longer and longer. So you have to stay in front of these people. So we're making 161 outbound pre-approval calls every single week, and then we're getting feedback from them, and we're letting the realtor know. So we're wowing not only the customer by staying in touch, but also by doing the realtor's job and following up with them, letting them know what their client needs.
Love it. So anybody who didn't take a note around this, you notice Jeremy is delivering wow experiences, and he's doing that with the TCA. So anybody who's not doing that with each and every client, again, you're just focused on winning, not wowing. And wowing is where mega success happens. So there's a wow experience, and then there's wow communication. And so, by the way, I've done, I don't know, a dozen of these wow interviews now, and that wow communication, that wow experience seems to be a common thread. So if I ask you to audit yourself. Where do you rank? Think of each and every client, and you're only as good as your worst execution. So don't just pat yourself on the back because you wowed 3 out of 10 people. You're only as good as your worst execution in my book. So just think about that, audit it. One more question, Jeremy, before we get into the mastermind. One of my observations when talking to salespeople is usually some people they have a nature about them. and some are more artistic. It's like they win through emotion, and then some are more scientific. You know, it's all about duplicatable processes. What do you think is more your nature? Are you more of an artist or more of a scientist?
I'd say my nature is completely an artist.
Okay.
As far as my nature goes. Now, with that said, I am very clear that you need both, especially if you want to be successful. So I have created all the processes for the scientist aspect of it that is replicable and that happens every single time. So that way I'm not only appealing to one group of people, I'm not appealing just emotionally with the way I speak, the way I articulate things, the way I can explain things, the way I can be creative within my presentations, but that I also have the science thing dialed in. And that's where Mortgage Coach has just been so awesome, because it takes the art and the science and combines them and forces you to communicate on both levels. So I would say, I don't know what you think, but I think I'm more of an artist just at my core, but I've definitely learned how to chameleonize myself into a scientist realm.
By the way, there's absolutely no doubt. I mean, your X factor, and by the way, X factor is pure art. It's something that you cannot completely quantify. It's the energy, it's the emotion, it's the fluidity in which you communicate, it's the intelligence that comes from within. So you are absolutely an artist, but think about your career as a salesperson when you didn't have your science in order, when you didn't have processes, when you didn't have technology, and you didn't execute them. It's like your business was a roller coaster. And so,
Yeah.
and that, by the way, that's the other observation. Every time I interview someone, whether you're naturally a scientist or naturally an artist, success, maximum success, comes from balance. And so when I notice people that are really scientific and they're not well balanced, they're successful, but they're not mega successful. And the same thing goes with the artist. And by the way, with the artist, if you don't have some process in place, I mean, it's a mess, you know, because you were just so emotionally driven. You were so spontaneous. And without systems in place, without processes in place, without the right technology in place, you can't maximize your success. So I wanted to set this up. First of all, great answers. I think we could end the call right now, and everybody got a lot of value. But let's talk about the mastermind, because
Sure.
one of the themes, I was you know, fortunate enough and really honored enough to be a part of this mastermind that you did. Why don't you first describe the mastermind, and then I want you to tell everybody what your goal, what did you hope to achieve from it, and then let me unpack it around what did you actually get. And by the end of the next 15, 20 minutes of you and I talking, I want to make sure everybody understands it, they know what we did, and they understand how they could implement it in their own marketplaces. So go ahead, Jeremy.
So Mastermind has been on my mind for a very long time. So I read a book called Think and Grow Rich 7 years ago. The best book I've ever read. I read it every single year, one time, every single year. My copies are all written up and highlighted. I always come away with new things. And the one thing that I learned in that is a quote, and it's about mastermind, which is getting people together that are not working for you, and that all of your minds working together to solve problems within your business and come up with new ideas on how to grow is exponentially powerful. So the quote is, 1 + 1 does not equal 2, 1 + 1 equals 11. And so my goal in the mastermind was to bring together a group of very powerful people in my marketplace. Most were realtors, but not all. There were 8 realtors, a financial planner, and an insurance agent that we all got together. I held an event called the Mastermind where we all flew out to my corporate headquarters in Chicago, and I conducted a basically 2-day, it was a 1-day for the Mastermind, but a 2-day event leading these people through a process of figuring out what is their biggest pain, what is their greatest success, and what can we do to support each other, and more specifically, what can I do to support them in achieving that goal that we uncovered. And I can't tell you how unbelievably powerful it is. The rules were you must come, you must participate, meaning there is there's nothing that's off limits. And what I mean by that is you have to share freely and wholly, and you must be committed to help the group. And so we started off the day with basically, in my goal, you asked what my goal was, Dave. My true goal for this was not necessarily at all to, I want to get more business from these people, okay? I wanted the goal to be, how can I really impact this group of people to have a breakthrough, to have that wow moment within themselves and realize that they can do more and that they have help and support to do more, and that I am willing to help them do that. Now, the byproduct of that, of course, is deeper relationships and, yes, more business. But that's not the focus. And I think that's very, very important to know and to really wrap your head around, is that if that is the only focus all the time, you're never going to wow anyone, okay, because you're being a taker, not a giver. You're not enrolling yourself in the process of the success of the realtor or whoever it is that you're targeting to work with. So that was the goal, was to go through, figure out, and that's how I started. You see all these pictures on the screen right now. I had this big easel, and on each page, we went around. I let everyone introduce themselves, and I wrote their name at the top, and I asked them these two questions, okay? And I asked them this. I teed it up a week before, you know, for them to be thinking about this so they'd be prepared, is, so Dave, if Dave was a realtor there, it'd be Dave. Name's Dave Savage. Introduce yourself. What market do you work in? You know, what's your current volume, et cetera, et cetera. Where are you having your biggest pain right now or biggest challenge in your business? And what is your greatest success? Where are you having the most opportunities right now in your business? And we wrote those down on one piece of paper for each person, and we posted them all around the room. Now, after that took place, everyone got around. That took about 45 minutes just to even get through that. Then we went through and we put the pains and the challenges into basically 3 different categories. And that was lead generation, it was time management, and what was the third one? Lead generation, time management, and
team.
Yeah, and team, exactly, and staffing, which I kind of put under time management as well. So we then put the categories of where are people's successes in this group.
Oh, by the way, Jeremy, it was conversion. Yeah. It was lead generation, conversion, and then time management.
So we put hash marks next to the successes of the people in those categories, and that's when the mastermind actually really starts, because we just open it up with a question. So, hey, we see, Jeremy, you have on here conversion being as, actually I was under lead generation being your strongest success right now. Why don't you talk about some of the things that you're doing, and then let's let people ask questions, and let's talk about this success and how we can execute it in someone else's business. And it's like an explosion of energy and ideas of everyone trying to help each other, and I can't tell you how powerful it is to not only the person who is asking the questions, but also for the person that's talking about sharing their successes, because it also reinforces everything that is working for that individual.
So let me add a few thoughts. So first of all, the only thing I would not challenge you on, but the mastermind, without spending a real quality 45 minutes of setting the table, of everybody getting to share about their practice, of everybody getting to share their strengths and weaknesses, the explosion wouldn't have happened. So I want to make sure everybody's really, really clear that setting the table and everybody learning, you're strong at this, I'm strong at this. First of all, that in itself, I think, was a big, there was a lot of value just in learning about that. And it was interesting. Half of the realtors were getting business through self-generated referral business, and half were internet. And that was, I think, a surprise. We didn't see that coming, but it created a lot of value that we had diverse types of realtors. They were, they all had one thing in common. They're cool people. So that was another key. And everybody on this call, you know what I'm talking about. Don't invite an uncool person to a mastermind. I don't care how successful they are, it will taint the mastermind. Everybody's got to have that in common, that they're open-minded and they respect the views of others. They can be a little arrogant. You know, again, successful people tend to be pretty confident in their views, so that's not a problem, but they need to be open-minded, and they also need to be willing to share. You know, Jeremy and I going into it, because he asked me to help facilitate it, someone's got to be the timekeeper, because that's the other thing. If you just let people talk and go on, especially successful realtors, you know, we could have spent, you know, 4 hours just getting to know each other. So someone has got to say, hey, you know, that's great, tie it up, now let's move on to the next. So you need a facilitator, and that may not be you as the actual person. You know, Jeremy and I were very intentional around what questions is he going to ask and what's his role, so that he's executing on his value and his visions. And he has a facilitator in the room who, hey, your job is to keep the pace moving and to pull out the value. So when you do this, make sure you got the right people in the room. Make sure that you have a clear vision. By the way, I also want to put just a big exclamation mark around giving and taking. It was so glaringly obvious that all Jeremy cared about was creating a breakthrough for these people. You know, there was no, you know, there was nothing that said, I want more business from you. It was all, I'm here to make you more successful. I've got 11 of your peers in the room, and by masterminding and sharing ideas, I want you to be more successful. And it was so transparent. It was so obvious. Again, we've heard that in terms of you want to get a lot of referrals, give a lot of referrals. So the whole give versus take mentality. So Jeremy, let's. I think we've highlighted the idea. We've described a lot about it. I think there's more to describe. But real quick, what do you think you're doing it? What result do you think you'll get over the next year as a result of this one single mastermind?
Oh, it's hard to equate, exact numbers. But before I go into the numbers real quick, Dave, there is one thing that I think is critical that I want to bring up, is that when you're in this group, I was a facilitator in the group, so I was leading I participated, but I also was really leading the group. I was taking the notes. I was help facilitating the time, the pace, the topics that people were talking about. And one critical element, Dave, and I know you know this, is that we did not allow anyone to impose their idea is better than someone else's idea. Yeah. And every time, and look, it's natural for that to happen, because listen, realtors, mortgage people, salespeople in general, they might not even think they're doing it, but they're trying to sell people on their way of doing it. And I loved it because we stopped a few people multiple times where they would say, look, I think you need to be doing, and we'd literally stop them and go, look, this is a place not to impose what you think someone else should be doing. It's a place to share what you're doing and why it's successful, not to make someone else feel they need to change their business. And I think it's really important for everyone to know that if you're going to hold a mastermind type group, you have to be that figure too that says, look, right now you're selling on an idea. Remember, we're here to share, not impose what we think is right or wrong, but what we think could be beneficial to the person that's asking for help.
But by the way, I'm so glad that you reminded to bring that up, because that's another thing, having the wrong person in the room, or even when you have, like you said, you have a lot of salespeople in the room. It happened over and over, and some of the best, coolest people were doing it, and we all do it. Heck, when I'm on these coaching calls, sometimes I get overboard and try to sell an idea. So I'm so glad you brought up that point. So let's share some results. And again, did you get any extra loans you thought just because you had the event?
Listen,
and
this is crazy. So listen to this. I have met with, so what I did at the event is after we all shared for a whole half day about the successes and the pains and how we can help each other, I went through one by one at the end and made every single person say what their takeaway was. So you can see that piece of paper right now where it says, pain and success with the person's notes. Well, underneath it, I wrote biggest takeaway and how I can help them achieve that. And I made everyone answer that question. What is your biggest takeaway? How can I help support that and help you achieve that? So literally, I had 11 people give me what they want help on, and what they want me to do about it. So it takes, I think that having clarity, I think clarity is a word that gets thrown around a lot, like this philosophy, like this weird thing, and being clear. And look, at being clarity is asking someone, what do you want, and if I can help you with it, would you want my help? And so I had action items for all 11 people, and I've met with every single one-to-one in the last 10 days to go over what their biggest takeaway was and how we can help it. So what does that look like right now? Well, that looks like I'm doing over 3,000 co-branded emails going out to people's database starting next month. Let me say that again. This is just one takeaway. 3,000 co-branded emails to people's databases to add value to their database follow-up. 3,000 people, co-branded, Jeremy Forcier. Number two, I currently have 6 escrows open since this event with these individuals. So that's 6 escrows. 2 of them have been in contract on listings that 2 of these realtors have. That they're not even the buying agent, where they didn't perform in loan contingency. They gave them a 24-hour notice to perform or take a loan application with Jeremy Forcier. If Jeremy Forcier says he can close the deal in 21 days or less, we will keep the deal open. If he says he cannot, we are moving on. 2 deals totaling $1.2 million between the 2 loans. I have 17 leads from these individuals since I've got back. So 17 leads in the last 10 days just from this group alone, and I've made 4 appointments with people that these agents and financial planner, et cetera, have referred me to. So 4 other referral sources that these individuals have referred me to as a result. Now, you can't tie it directly to this, but it's ironic that all of a sudden you're getting, 4 appointments with people that you've never talked to, never worked with before, because they said they had such a great experience with me, and that I'm the most realtor-focused, purchase-driven mortgage person, that's how they're teeing me up, that they've ever met.
Wow. So amazing results. You've become much more essential to these realtors. By the way, everybody, he didn't have 2 of his absolute top realtors in the room. Remember, this was a trip, where they had to make a pretty big commitment. Again, Jeremy did pay for everything. Again, I'm not going to ask Jeremy on the call to tell how much he paid, and by the way, Jeremy, I don't want you to. But it was a significant investment. I mean, this was a big investment that he's already got a path to a return on. So it's going to be a 30 to 60-day, 2x, 3x return on investment, and over the course of 12 months, my guess is that it will be north of a 10x return on investment. So one thing I want to tell everybody in this call, because I was a big part of the event in terms of facilitating it, being there to help Jeremy support his goals. This was the big dog, top of the mountain event. I mean, we had a box at Wrigley Field. He flew people across the country. He paid for 2 amazing dining experiences. I mean, we shared some really good times together. He made a very big investment, and it was obvious that it was does he want more business? Did everybody know that? Absolutely. But was it really clear that he was a whole lot more interested in getting there through delivering value? Absolutely. So I hope one takeaway, everybody, it's not that you need to do a big event like this. And for some of you on the call who have 11 quality realtors that you could get to do a big event like this, might make sense for you. But for most of you, this is not reality. You don't have the budget. You don't even, what?
I want to jump in here too, because I don't want everyone to think that I just did this, I had this idea, and I'm doing this. I've done 4 or 5 over the last year, smaller mastermind groups that really almost cost you nothing, like a lunch type situation, to figure out how I could make this event grand. So you can do this by, we have a really nice health club here in town that has an unbelievably nice conference room that you can rent for $40. So I have done masterminds there where I have brought in between 5 and 10 agents, and we do a smaller version of this. And I'd say that I would make the big, crazy Mac Daddy event a goal, but you have to practice first. before you get there. And so I would recommend to anyone that wants to execute this, A, I'm happy to share whatever you want about it, how I did it, but B, that start small so that you can hone your skills. Think about the first time you made a total cost analysis. Was it more challenging than it is after you do 100 of them? Of course it is, because you're figuring out efficiencies and what really the powerful things you need to pay attention to. So that would be my biggest recommendation, Dave, while you're talking about this, is that I think that this is a great ultimate goal, and I do think it's a game changer, but don't be afraid to start on a smaller scale. You can have the same type of value, and you can learn and educate yourself on holding these type of things.
Right on. So first of all, I hope everybody got that takeaway. By the way, I'm having a little challenge with my mic. I might have to put in a new mic in a minute. Let me keep going as long as I can. So if you could confirm what you see on the screen. So again, I want to make sure everybody realizes you could do this event with a big budget. You could do this event with no budget. I mean, theoretically, everybody could pay for, you could get a restaurant, have a private room, do something like Scott Cummings did, and instead of do a 1-hour presentation, do a half-hour mastermind, and everybody is paying their own way. So I just hope a takeaway is not that everybody needs to do a mega event and a mega mastermind. This just happens to be one. I happen to be part of it, and I thought it would be valuable to bring it back to you guys here in the Mortgage Coach community. So by the way, if you like what we just shared about and you think this is a great idea, go to our Facebook page and show Jeremy the love that you think this is a great idea, this is something you'd want to do in your marketplace. I hope I'm going to have time to open it up for some questions. I may or may not be able to do that. If we don't have time for questions, I'm going to bring Jeremy back into a call in 2 weeks, and the whole call is just going to be about Jeremy and his team. And if we get any questions on our Facebook page, or you guys want more information, you want us to break this down in more detail, let us know. And in 2 weeks when Jeremy's back on this call, we'll be sure to do a little debrief for 15 minutes around this event and any questions that come up, and then we'll unpack how he manages a team that does all this production. Jeremy, any last thoughts before I transition to another guest?
No, I mean, I would say that if anything, just don't forget about your dreams, okay? I shared with you at the beginning of this that this has been a dream of mine for 7 years. So this isn't something that just happened, but it's a dream that I've always had. And don't be afraid to continually work towards what your dreams and what your visions are, because the reality is you can have it all. Right on.
All right, well, let's bring in another guest. And Jeremy, stay on the call. You're my co-host for the rest of the call. I want to bring in another top loan officer, Frank Blakely. He had, well, actually, he didn't forward it. Bill Hart, his coach, forwarded me a mortgage coach experience that he created to help create urgency for a move-up buyer. And I'm like, this is a killer idea, killer strategy. Frank's been a leader on this call before. We actually have Frank scheduled next month where he's going to be the guest, and we're going to break down some ideas and strategies. But Frank, why don't you just quickly tell a little bit about your practice, and then roll right into what are we looking at here, and just lay it out for the team.
Good morning. Dave, can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, so I am a managing, producing branch manager. We have 15 LOs, growing because we started that apprentice position, which I talked about the other day. But a huge portion of my income comes from producing. So we have 4 radio stations that we advertise, and just like many probably on the call, that we've been heavily implanted in the refinance market over the past couple of years. Instant gratification, making up for the downs of a couple years ago, and I would say 70% focus has been building and getting more into the purchase market. I have to say, Jeremy, I listened to your call this morning with Todd Duncan, and I have my degree in kinesiology as well. Started pre-med and was pre-physical therapy, and then was working for 24 Fitness for a while, and then came over into the mortgage industry. So
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the systems that you have talked about in sales mastery and things like that, I've been starting to build into my own practice and team as well. So, but yeah, so what I've been doing is that pain process, I guess, I've been using as a question mark for my real estate agents and the people that I work with. And a lot of what they're struggling with is, hey, Frank, I have all these buyers. Don't send me anything else on how to get more buyers. I have a ton of it. We have low inventory. I need more listings, and I need strategies to get the existing buyers into homes. And so a lot of the videos that I've been sending out on a weekly basis, which I have committed to with the help of Bill Hart and just, you know, Dave and a lot of the different things that you guys have been bringing up, is going, hey, I got to be consistent with it. I got to do it. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be glorious. I just got to do it. And so one of the strategy was, you know, selling to move up, and the cost of owning in 2006 versus now. And you know, we all know that rates will go up at some point. It's just a matter of time and when. And you using that pain point as a sense of urgency. One of the other videos, like I'm bringing out today, is we have, you know, 3% conventional down payment, 3.5% and 0 for VA. Well, instead of just going, hey, here's a way for buyers, I'm going, hey, why don't you, if somebody has more down payment, here's kind of their drop down to use these options if they really love the home, not as a requirement for a low down payment, but as a substitute to take the cash that they have to maybe make up the difference from the appraised value to what the home is going to go for to get in the home. So using it more as a strategic call to action to get people in homes. So that's really what I'm doing right now.
So everybody, I hope everybody understood and got what he talked about just now, what he shared. Jeremy, I'm going to ask you in a minute to provide any feedback you have. But a couple things come to mind. You know, one, if you don't get it, if you don't understand it, you need to. You need to learn how to have a rent versus own conversation. You need, I mean, all the things that I listed off earlier, and I'll remind you as I close this call. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you are delivering wow, you need to get to a wow in all of these home buyer strategies as a Mortgage Coach member. Also, again, just the whole concept of masterminding. I mean, having Jeremy on the call and then Frank, I just want to do a quick survey. How many people have already signed up to go to Stephen Marshall's mastermind event in June? First week of June. I want to know how many people on the call right now have already signed up and you're going. And by the way, everybody, you know how I am. I need to get 70% of you voting. Come on, let's get into the content. Give me a vote. I want to know what percentage of the people on this call are going. Anybody that is not already signed up and would like to go, Jacob, let's make sure we get a post on our Facebook page taking people to the Mortgage Coach discount. I mean, everybody on this call, you are Mortgage Coach members. I will be there. We will have a team there. We will be delivering value there. And again, if you have not signed up yet, you can get a Mortgage Coach discount. So first of all, it looks like about, here, by the way, here's the results. 12% of you said that you're going, so that's a pretty good showing. 88% said you're not. But again, another great opportunity for Mastermind. And I just wanted to, I heard you, Frank. I heard you, Jeremy. I think the concept of networking with our realtors, networking with each other. I heard you, Frank, how you talked about how much you're learning from Jeremy. And I just want to make sure everybody is being very intentional about that. So what I'd like to do now, Frank, Jeremy, do you have any thoughts or questions on Frank's strategy?
Well, you know, it's awesome. You're like, hey, Frank, you know, you learning from Jeremy. I just scribbled down and copied your whole analysis that's on the screen right now, and I'm executing this today. I mean, this is really good. This is brilliant, a great way to leverage it. So, yeah, we're all learning from each other. Everyone on the call, don't try to reinvent your own analysis. Write down 480, you know, loan amount. Write down the interest rates. Write down the 2006 cost to own. I just wrote it all down on a piece of paper, and execute this. This is a really, really, really good strategy. So, Frank, I applaud you and I thank you. This is totally kick-ass.
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. So Frank, do you mind if we share a link to this on the Facebook page, just anybody who wants to see it in a little more clarity?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we're going to add this, assuming Jacob Gibbs on our team is okay with it, to both the Hall of Fame page. So if you have not been to our Hall of Fame page and seen all the great Jeremy's Why Buy Now, there's amazing rent versus own. There's great samples of your peers executing wow presentations. If you haven't been there, go there. But we'll add this to that. Another thing I'd like to do right now, and I think we still have time, I'm going to bring Jacob Gibbs into the call and have him walk through how to create this. Because like you said, Jeremy, execution's everything. We've given you some good ideas today. Now let's help you execute some ideas with a little more clarity. Frank, anything else you want to say before I bring Jacob into the conversation?
You know what? I think it just comes down to just keeping it simple and doing like what you guys have been talking about already. What can you execute on today, and what can you make part of your weekly system in practice? And then as that becomes more of your weekly system in practice, then you start adding on to it. Because what starts happening is we see what Jeremy does, we see who's on the call last week, and we try to implement everything. And it's the kind of you're doing everything. You're not you're doing everything, to a little bit with very little success, versus doing one thing really good, getting it done, and then going to the next thing after you've mastered it, made it consistent.
Love it, love it. So what I want to do is let's put this idea into action. I also want to remind everybody who's on the call, every Thursday at 9 o'clock, Jacob is doing a Q&A session where he is making sure that any questions you have, any issues you have, whether it's with Edge or RateWatch, you're learning to implement those. So I'm also going to share with some specific videos at the end so you can do more training and teaching after this. But Jacob, if you could go through it and walk us through this move-up analysis so that everybody knows how to create it.
Certainly, Dave. Thank you. So actually, I had prepared a little more than that. I wanted to show everybody just a couple of good ideas that you should have in your purchase arsenal, and then I'm going to cover what Frank was showing, show you guys how to do that in more detail. But I also want to let you know, like Dave said, we host a Q&A session every single Thursday. Now, this Thursday, we will be devoting the entire QA session to going over these purchase strategies, learning how to build them. I'll show you step by step exactly how to go through them. So make sure to join me on that. I'll give you some more information on that towards the end of my presentation here. So what do you need for your purchase arsenal? The first thing is a price options TCA. Like Dave said earlier, show different price ranges for your borrower. The second thing, you got to know how to do a rent versus own. Compare the deficit of renting with the benefits of home ownership. Thirdly, a move-up buyer presentation. Show how a homeowner can move up into a higher priced property with the same monthly payment and little or no out-of-pocket expense. A cost of waiting, like Frank was talking about. The pain of waiting is oftentimes a lot more functional on your presentation than showing them what they can save. And lastly, a co-branded seller options presentation. This is just your open house flyer. So I'm going to show you an example of each one of these real quick, and then we'll get into how Frank built his. So give me just a moment here, guys.
I'm loving this, Jacob. It's great sharing an idea and then showing the how. We need to do this more often. By the way, everybody, if you like what we're doing, let us know. Do a shout out in the Q&A.
Thanks, Dave. So what I'm showing right here is I'm actually showing just a purchase total cost analysis, 3 different options, a $240, a $250 price, and a $260 price. Pretty plain and simple. There's not a whole lot to it. I've issued the same rate across the board for them. The fees are generally about the same. Origination is a little bit higher on these last 2 options, but not a whole lot of difference between what the borrower has to come in with. But check it out. There's actually a pretty substantial difference between the monthly payment. But what you're trying to show the borrower is all 3 of these are going to work for you. It's just a matter of where you want to be over time. So you're showing them that, if you go with this $240 house, it is going to save you $145 a month. It is going to save you $5,800 in interest over time. But check out your net worth. You can go with a higher house and develop a higher net worth for yourself over time. Now the second presentation, and again, I will dive into these in far more detail on the Thursday Q&A session. So if you want the absolute nuts and bolts on putting these together, please make sure and join us on Thursday. Second one is a rent versus own. Pretty simple. We've got a renter that's actually paying $2,000 for rent every month right now. There's no benefit in renting, as you can see. But then we're also comparing it against a net monthly payment. Now this net monthly payment is what happens when you take the pity payment, you subtract the tax benefit, and the principal payment. So once you subtract those out, you're just left with the unrecoverable costs of the payment. And that's what rent is. So we've got an apples-to-apples look at money going out the window. We can show them the rent versus the tax benefit over time. We can also show the net worth. As a renter, yeah, they've got money in the bank. They're going to continue to have money in the bank, and it's going to grow at whatever rate they have. But on the home ownership side, they're gaining equity. So at the 15-year point, pretty staggering difference. And this is a great call to action for those first-time home buyers. Now the third one I have here, this is just a cost of waiting, a general cost of waiting. So what I've done is I showed a buy now option. If you buy at $250 right now with an FHA program, this is what it's going to cost you. But what I did is I toggled my benchmarks around. So I'm showing the pain of waiting for a drop and it not happening. Rates go up. I'm also showing the pain of A worst case scenario, you waited for a drop, the price didn't drop, it actually went up. And since this is an FHA presentation, if that case number is assigned after 6-1, we're looking at substantially more interest over time. So that's why I use the 30-year metric on this. What is it going to cost you? And it's only going to cost you $223 in interest in MI for the buy now option. But if you wait for a month, you're looking at $308, so $80,000 more pain for waiting a month. So keep this one in mind, huge for the arsenal. This goes right along with that rent versus own report. And again, one of those great reports to get a home buyer off the fence. Now this doesn't necessarily have to be for a first-time home buyer either. This can be for a move-up buyer as well, like Frank showed. Now the next one here, this is just a move-up presentation. Now this is a standard one showing that right now you're in a house that's $250,000 value. You're paying this $1,468. But because you took your mortgage out a few years ago, you've got a 5.5% interest rate. What if I can show you a way to take the equity you have in your house right now, use that as the down payment and the closing costs, and purchase a house that's $25,000 more for roughly the same payment here? We're actually reducing their payment over time. And you can see it's costing them less interest over time. And check out our net worth at the 15-year point. We've gained them $20,000 in net worth with little or no out-of-pocket expenses. The final one, this one is just your purchase options. This is the co-branded presentation with your realtor's information at the bottom. This is just showing 4 different purchase options that I can offer as an originator. I'm showing an FHA 30 fixed. I've got a 15-year fixed. I've got a lender-paid MI where I just finance the MI into the rate. And then I've got a single premium MI where I actually ask the borrower to bring in a little bit extra to buy out the MI. So some different options that definitely show you as the educated originator. You're not just going to push one type of loan. You've got lots of them that are available. So you want to make sure your partner knows that those are available. But once you've had that conversation with your realtor partner and you've been able to isolate what type of loans you want to show, these are the ones you should have on your standard open house flyer. Now I should let you know that I have these all available in one spot in Edge. So when I go to view all here in Edge and I look at my don't wait to buy your dream home, I've got 4 different options underneath that category. These are the 4 that I want to make for every single first-time home buyer or move-up borrower. Now, all you have to do to turn these into a new one for your prospective client or borrower, left-click on it, use the copy analysis button, and copy this to a new client. Now you've got the exact same presentation. All you have to do is put your client's name on it, whatever tagline you want to use, and put on a video and fire it out. So,
hey, Jacob, time out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go for it.
First of all, wow. I mean, how many of you on the call have things organized in this way so that you can quickly and easily access and create these reports? So if you already have done that, I want you to raise your hand, and I want you to do a shout out, because I'll bet you very few, if any, have done this. Jeremy, have you organized things in this way?
I wish. This is incredible.
I mean, is this worth the whole call right here?
Yeah, I wrote it down. I'm doing, yes, is the answer. Yeah.
You know, Jacob, I mean, we got to have you on more of these calls. This is, I think, a bigger wow for everybody. So again, this Tuesday, this and more. Anyways, keep going, Jacob. I just wanted to do a big shout out because I think this is going to be a wow for a lot of people on the call.
All right, excellent. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. So now the next thing I wanted to show you is how Frank made his report. So this is actually going to be another one that I would put in that same arsenal. So in order to do that inside Edge, I'm going to go to View All again. I'm going to find that Don't Wait character here, and I'm going to add an analysis because I want this to append underneath that same borrower set. So I'm going to say yes here. And this one, for the friendly name here, I'm going to call this one Move Up Cost of Waiting. And then as I go through here, I'm going to choose the purchase option. And I'm going to kind of rip through this kind of fast, guys. But on Thursday, again, I'll cover the nuts and bolts on this. But what we're going to show, let's say a 250. I know that Frank used slightly higher values here. I'm just going to kind of keep it uniform with the ones that I was already creating. And I'm going to jump into the product. So I don't need to collect any of the details really on these first 4 tabs. Because I'm making this a marketing report, I'm just going to basically put together the 3 new products. So this one was buy in 2009 or 2006, either one. And you'll have to excuse me, I'm running into a little bit of a lag right now on my internet connection, so it might be a little slow getting to you. Sorry if I'm going a little too quick, but again, we will cover this in more detail. So this is an FHA program. Oops, let's get a couple more numbers in there. And back then, we were probably getting about a 5.5% rate on a 30-year term. I'm going to pop in my closing costs. And generally on this one, they've already paid the closing costs, so not terribly important if you don't want to include closing costs on this presentation. So in the essence of saving time here, I'm going to omit closing costs for this one. And back then it was 1.25. And then we'll make sure and put our taxes and insurance in there. Oops. And then the mortgage insurance way back when, right around 0.55. Okay, now I'm going to add another product. Now, instead of redoing all that work, I'm going to use the copy button. So I'm going to hit copy from. I'm going to copy that buy in 2009. I'm going to call this one buy now. And same purchase price here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the interest rate to show what we can get them right now. Maybe I can get them about a 4.5% rate. Of course, I need to adjust my upfront MIP percentage. And then lastly, I need to make sure and adjust my MI factor. Now the last product is what happens if I wait even longer. So again, I'm going to use that copy button. I'm going to copy the buy now. And then if I wait even longer, potentially my rate can go up to 5%. Now, of course, by waiting, remember what I said earlier, the FHA guidelines are changing. So we need to make sure and adjust our MI. It has to carry it for the life of the loan now instead of just being a minimum 60 months. So we're going to change this factor to 360. Now, my report is pretty much done. The one thing I do need to do is adjust the benchmarks like Frank did. So if you see here, our buy now option is obviously the best. I'm going to choose the buy now, and then I'm going to do the same thing in the short-term area because I want to show the difference, the pain. Back in 2009, it cost you $54 more, but you wait for another month, it's going to cost you another $146. You know, same thing here. We're at the perfect delta right now for buying. We can't get those 2009 rates anymore, but watch out because if you wait a little bit longer, it's going to cost you even more. Now, for my long term, I'm going to show total interest in MI paid, and the reason is because the MI is a huge factor in this presentation. So I'm going to change this one to show the life of the loan. Because as you guys know, MI has to carry for the life of the loan. Now we're looking at an $86,000 difference in the interest in MI paid over time. So I'm done with this report. This is ready to go. All I have to do now is pop a video on it, prepare the link, and send this guy out. So also make sure, guys, if you're not aware of these payment notes, these appear on all your reports. These tie to the 2 asterisks that are right next to the payments. So make sure to fill these in for compliance. Things like, payment includes taxes and insurance, or if you decide to exclude them, make sure and say that you're excluding them. But again, we'll cover this in more detail on Thursday. So the last part I want to show you here is how to sign up for that Thursday call. So let me get this back into slideshow. So if you go to our mortgagecoach.com page, and you can do this by clicking Help inside of Edge, it takes you directly over to our website. Then you hover your mouse over this Community tab, and you're going to choose Coaching Call Archive. There's a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. The weekly coaching call you're on right now is this guy right here. To sign up for the Thursday calls, it's this one down here. They are separate links, but it's the same link each week for the Thursday calls, same link each week for the Tuesday calls. So once you sign up once, you'll get reminders each week so you can attend. Now, if you're not able to attend for some reason, I always put the most recently recorded QA call here in our coaching call archive. So click on this guy, and it's going to show you last Thursday's call. Last Thursday was actually a good one, so take a few minutes here. It's going to be an hour, but grab a glass of wine tonight sometime. See if you can watch this and check it out. There's a lot of great ideas that came out of that last call. And again, sign up for the next call here. Now, last thing here is how to get support. Now, I know a lot of you are brand new to this call, and you may not have seen this before, but in order to get support, you always just click Help here in Edge. That's your Edge bar, by the way, and that takes you to our support center. Now, if you need to email us directly, you can click this one, and it's going to fire open an email. But we've also got just about everything that we talk about here in these topics. So when you click on any one of these guys, it's going to open up all the different reports and video tutorials on how to do them. So make sure to make use of these. but definitely do contact us at support if you have any questions at all. So with that, Dave, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off back to you. Again, guys, please make sure to join me on Thursday. We're going to delve into all of this nice and deep and make sure that you guys are all masters of these formulas.
Right on. Awesome job, Jacob. I mean, bravo, brother. You were awesome. So I want to make sure everybody's clear on the formula. You need to know how to drive these experiences. Jacob just showed you a few, and he gave you a path so that literally within weeks, everybody can be executing. Another key element, it's the mobile app, guys. So how many of you have used the Mortgage Coach mobile app? I know Jeremy has used it because I watched him actually lock in a rate and drive an experience from a bar. And I've added that to the use cases. But how many of you have used this? And again, I know anybody who's on here that has an Android, you have it, no problem. We're working on it. We're getting you an app. Although, remember, you can still drive an experience on an Android. It's just not an app experience. So come on, guys. We're at 45% of you have voted. Give me a big push. So I guess I'm not totally surprised by these results. I'm going to push them real quick. So 24% said, yes, you've done this. I'm sure in that 76 that have not, a lot of you are using Android. So no, not holding it against you. Anybody that has an iPhone or an iPad and you haven't done this, folks, I mean, you're simply not executing at something that's game-changing. Again, I will share more on that in future calls because we're out of time. I'm going to go a few minutes over. I don't have time to bring in any success stories in this call, but we will continue to beat the drum and focus on mobile. I want to remind everybody to make sure that if you haven't uploaded it, go get it. You can use it to add more value to your borrower conversations. You can use it during your realtor meetings to make sure that you're showing them how you're delivering value. You can use it to deliver value and show how you're unique and valuable at family gatherings and dinners. And again, you can also use the Jeremy Forcier and lock in rates at the bar of your favorite restaurant. I want to remind everybody that this coaching call is available. You can get it. I thought this idea from Jacob on how to organize all of your case studies in a way that they're useful and valuable, and in a way that you could quickly create templates. I mean, you could literally create a custom why buy now analysis within a minute. Jeremy, I hope that was a takeaway. One of those things that you and I were talking about recently is how do you stay in touch, create more urgency for all of your shoppers, so to speak. Now, I think you can see, using this template strategy, you could delegate this, and you could literally create a move up, cost of waiting analysis, and using this template feature, you could do it in a minute. Did you get that, Jeremy?
I got it. Yeah, loud and clear.
All right. And by the way, Jeremy, when you come back in 2 weeks, I want you to talk about how you've already delegated this to an assistant and how you're already executing at a much higher level, not only at the point of sale, but how you manage and create expectations going. You think you can pull it off in 2 weeks?
I do think I can.
All right, all right. Little social pressure. So again, everybody, connect with us at Facebook.com/Mortgage Coach. Huge thank you to Jeremy Forcier, to Frank Blakely, to Jacob, to everybody on the Mortgage Coach team. We cannot do this without you. I hope we exceeded the expectation of the best weekly sales meeting in the mortgage industry. And if you like what Jeremy shared today, let us know. Go to the Facebook page, give him some love, give us some love, and let us know what you think. Jeremy, any final words or thoughts before we wrap up this call?
Just say Nike. Just do it.
Hey, Frank, if you're still on the call, do you have any parting words or wisdom?
No, I think it's really just look through the eyes of the person that you're trying to reach. So don't think of it as a program or platform. Think of it as a strategy and how you can turn heads with everything you put out there.
Everybody, I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. I hope you will tell others in your office about this call. Again, we want to get more and more Mortgage Coach members so we can deliver more and more value. Have a great week, everybody. And in the words of Jeremy Forcier, just do it.